Another September 22nd means that the LEGO Ninjago movie turns another year older, officially turning 6 years old in the final year of 2023, finally being old enough to build a Ninjago movie fidget spinner. Sorry 5-year-olds, this one's for the big kids. And with this movie turning one more year older, it means it's time for another video reminding you that it does indeed exist, as much as we wish it didn't. Last year, I made a retrospective all about the movie, forcing myself to watch it 5 times and go in depth about the production and aftermath of the film. You should totally check it out after this video, by the way. Since I watched the movie 5 times for the 5-year anniversary, does that mean I'm going to watch it 6 times for the 6-year anniversary? Fuck no. Instead, I'll be pitching my idea for a supposed sequel to the LEGO Ninjago movie. Sequels are usually the best one, right? Of course, for this movie to receive a sequel, we're gonna have to try really hard to imagine that we all live in a timeline where the Ninjago movie was an actual financial success. I know that's a pretty big ask, but just stay with me here. As much as I love to talk down upon the movie, I do have to admit that it really isn't too bad. I mean, it's definitely a very bad Ninjago movie, and movie in general, but it's a passable 4 out of 10 movie, something that'll shut your kids up for an hour and 40 minutes. I certainly wouldn't be against getting an actual sequel to the Ninjago movie, a movie that could hopefully iron out all of the problems from the first. I kinda fell in love with the world the first movie created, and so I'd be totally on board to revisit that version of Ninjago. I just care way too much about this LEGO children's series to not see it succeed in every industry it takes on. Seriously, I bought this Japanese manga magazine just for 6 pages that I can't even read, just because it was Ninjago. I think I have a mental problem. So if I have to be the one to make a Ninjago movie sequel, then so be it. And why not start off by fixing one of the biggest problems from the first movie, giving the other ninja actual character arcs. It's no secret that Lloyd was obviously the director's favourite, as he was really the only ninja that got time to shine, leaving the other 5 ninja being just a bunch of blank slates that were in desperate need of being fully fleshed out. And since this is my video, we'll be starting with my favourite ninja, Jay. Jay's character arc in the first movie went like this. So we've really got a lot of ground to cover. Within the first movie, Jay was meant to be a more shy and nervous character, the total opposite of his TV counterpart. I don't want to completely change him to be just like his TV show version, as I feel like the more nervous version of Jay is a nice different version of the character. Throughout the sequel, he would get a little more outgoing and more comfortable with the other ninja, especially a certain ninja. As a Jaya fan myself, needless to say I was very disappointed in the total lack of Jaya in the first movie. All we ever got was Jay saying hi to Nia, this little moment in the Temple of the Ultimate Weapon, and Nia telling us that Jay once pissed his pants. I guess for the sequel we'll have to fix his bladder. Part of Jay's character description from the first movie reads that Jay has a big crush on Nia, but every time he works up a nerve to tell her how he feels, he gets interrupted, which was not once shown within the movie. It could definitely serve as some good comedy, with something always interrupting Jay right before he confesses to Nia. Throughout the film, I could also see Jay trying to impress Nia, but failing, and Nia mostly ignoring him every time, up until the very end of the movie, when Jay manages to help save the day, and finally win over Nia's heart. I'd also like the sequel to really show off how smart Jay is, because God knows the show ain't gonna, with Jay perhaps making a few gadgets to help with whatever situations happen in the movie, with Jay, Nia, and Zane being the engineers behind whatever oversized vehicles the ninja would get for this sequel. After Jay, let's take a look at what we can do with the ninja he's so interested in, Nia. Like with Jay, I'd like for the sequel to show more of Nia's smarts, along with showing an actual sibling bond between her and Kai, and maybe even a mother-daughter-like bond between her and Coco, now that she knows that she is her biggest hero, the Lady Iron Dragon. On the topic of bonds, it only makes sense to bring up Nia and Jay's bond that would be developed throughout the movie. I said earlier that Nia would ignore Jay for most of the film, but that wouldn't be entirely true. The first movie never once made note that Kai and Nia's parents were out of the picture. Maybe that just means they're a happy family in this universe. I mean, this character here is called Ray, so I suppose it could be true. But for the sake of my supposed sequel, I'm gonna say that Ray and Maya went on an extended business trip and haven't returned yet. Nia wouldn't exactly be ignoring Jay because she has no interest in the blue ninja, but instead because she's afraid to love somebody who she might end up losing, just like her parents, a fear brought up due to seeing Lloyd and Garmadon reconnecting as father and son. But by the end of the movie, Nia would cast away her fear and Jay fans all over the world would rejoice as the two ninja would end up together, and hopefully Jay wouldn't piss himself again. Moving on from Nia, we have her brother Kai. Part of Kai's character in the beginning of the show is that he was pretty protective of Nia, and I wouldn't mind seeing that aspect of the character being brought over to this Ninjago movie sequel. Just like Nia, Kai too would be impacted by seeing Lloyd and Garmadon becoming more like father and son, motivating him to be more involved in Nia's life and be more protective of her. By the end of the movie, however, Kai would realize that Nia is more than capable of taking care of herself, with her new relationship with Jay being one of the driving forces. Figuring out who their parents really are would also be a great arc for Kai throughout the movie, especially since it would link in pretty well with the plot idea I have for the movie, but we'll talk about that later. As right now, we'll be taking a look at our favorite Ninjoid voiced by Zach Woods, Zane and that creepy smile of his. Zane's entire character in the Ninjago movie basically just boils down to, haha, he's not a normal teenager, he's a robot, haha, Zach Woods do robot voice. Which for a fan favorite character of Zane, who has so much potential for a really compelling storyline, really sucks. So I think the perfect arc for Zane within this new supposed sequel would be to really turn down his robot personality and introduce a more human side to this version of the character, learning from the other ninja and moments from the actual movie what it's like to feel human and truly feel human emotion, as Zane discovers who he was built by and maybe along the way finally gets rid of his very creepy smile. Following after Zane, our next ninja to give an actual character arc will be the Master of Earth, Cole. In the Ninjago movie, Cole is meant to be a very relaxed and laid-back character, and I think we could use that to give him an interesting arc throughout this new sequel. Perhaps Cole has gotten too laid back, not really caring about anything, brushing off his bad grades, and as soon as something gets a little too difficult, he just gives up and moves on to something else. So throughout this movie, Cole will be faced with many different obstacles that would challenge him to not just give up and move on so easily, learning what it means to truly be a ninja and never quit until the job is done. And now we're here at our last ninja, Lloyd. The first movie is basically all about him, so does he really need more development in the sequel? Well, I do think there could be something done for good old Lloyd. After being hailed as the savior of the city, Lloyd would probably grow quite a bit of an ego. It only makes sense. All his life he was hated by everyone, and now everyone suddenly loves him, so of course he'd get pretty big-headed and full of himself. And if Lloyd's golden power gets introduced, then that would make Lloyd's ego even worse, thinking of himself as the one and only ninja to rule them all, casting the others to the side as he tries to do everything by himself. But with some wise guidance from Master Wu, and even his own father, along with a lot of consequences from his own actions, Lloyd would come to the realization that he was so sure that he's one in a million that he forgot that out on the battlefield, he is just one in a team of 6 ninja. But I also wouldn't be against the idea of him getting executed in this movie. Just get rid of him so the other ninja can finally do something other than stand in the background. In this sequel, the ninja would also actually use Spinjitzu. In the first movie it was never used, and only mentioned by Wu once, even though there's a set called Spinjitzu Training and a movie Lloyd Spinjitzu Spinner. So every 20 seconds of this sequel, the ninja have to do Spinjitzu. Now that the ninja's character arc's loosely written out, it's time to move on to who would be the big bad villain of the movie. Every time I see somebody mention a Ninjago movie 2, the Overlord is always picked to be the villain, and that will not be the case for my sequel, as I feel like the Overlord would be totally out of place, as he was not at all set up in the first film. A big bad villain that's basically the embodiment of evil really needs to be set up in a prior movie. The villain for this movie won't even be any other villain from the Ninjago series, as I think making an entirely new villain would be best for this new sequel, setting itself apart from the series as much as possible. But there would definitely have to be a little montage in the movie of the ninja beating some of the villains from the show, like Moro, Chen, Unagami, and Otacon, all of course having new movie universe designs. With every villain from the show basically tossed into the trash, who would be this new villain for the ninja to face off against? Or should I say, villains? I think it would be very cool and pretty meta if the ninja were to go against another group of ninja, specifically the original LEGO Ninja from the 1998 Ninja LEGO theme, with there being one for each of the ninja's colors. Along with being very meta, this would also be a great way to show how far LEGO ninjas have come over the years, pitting the past up against the future and seeing which would win. This then brings me to a plot idea for the movie, which will of course be reviving the original idea of the first movie, being a time travel movie, with these older ninja coming from the past of Ninjago. Maybe they're even Wu's first ninja team he taught, accidentally being brought to the future thanks to some sort of mishap caused by Lloyd's new inflated ego. I can see our ninja at first finding these older ninja to be the coolest kids on the block, amazed at how good they are at being ninja, teaching the newer generation some of their old style training methods. But as the movie continues, the ninja would grow a little more weary of these old ninja, with some of their training methods turning out to be more unorthodox than what Wu had taught them. Eventually, the older ninja's villainous sides would be revealed. After finding the future to be nothing like what they want, the old ninja would hatch the master plan of reverting the Ninjago of the future back to the Ninjago of the past, with their 6 favorite ninja of course needing to stop them from erasing their beloved Ninjago and all they hold dear from the timeline. In typical movie fashion, the good guys would of course win in the end, with the ninja stopping the old ninja and everyone learning the very important lesson of respect the past and embrace the future, and that change is inevitable. And that's basically about it for my pitch for a Ninjago Movie sequel. Of course, I am not at all a screenwriter or any kind of professional movie maker, so the ideas within this video are pretty basic, and would of course be expanded upon within an actual $1 million movie. Actually, we would be lucky if they spent more than $1,000 on a Ninjago Movie sequel. If this sequel is actually successful, I can very much see an entire Ninjago cinematic universe starting, with such movies as the LEGO Dareth movie and the LEGO Scales Jr. movie. Every movie making $10 ninjillion of course. Oh shoot, I seem to have forgotten to include a post-credit scene for this Ninjago Movie sequel, because apparently every movie needs that nowadays. I don't know, just throw Chima in there at the end for a Ninjago vs. Chima movie or something.